Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I saw this story recently kind of go into the mainstream, fade away, not made a big deal about, but it's something I've covered for quite some time, and that is the rise of automated small insect-like drones. In fact, on this very channel, if you go back to I think around 2012 maybe, it's there. I did a very short video on the hummingbird drone. And in it, I talked about past drones. And what's hitting the news now is that at Harvard, they have developed, and it's been around for quite some time, but now it's untethered. You see the little tether here below it. It's untethered, and it's solar, and it's autonomous. It's the Robo bee. And I fear that we're going to be seeing a lot of these things starting to take flight as surveillance devices on the general populace in a rather short period of time. Probably be a regular kind of thing that you see in cities and urban areas probably in 15, 20 years. And they've been developing these for quite some time. And if you look at this, the Robo Bee X-Wing, developed at the Harvard Microbiotics Laboratory, is a remarkable feat for microengineering. It is the first insect-sized aerial vehicle to fly without requiring a tether and uses recent advances in materials and engineering to achieve new power efficiency. A paper describing it appears in the Journal of Nature today. You can also watch this video live in action here. We'll actually go over to the Harvard website so you can check some of this out. There it is on the tether. So the Weiss Institute, again, it's a solar little Robo bee, okay? Inspired by the biology of a bee, researchers at the Weiss Institute are developing Robo bees. Isn't that awesome? Now, here's the flip side to that. This is what we have for public technology and engineering. I think in a lot of ways, although the technology is moving forward on the power side, at least publicly, that's because it's publicly available, and they're preparing you for this. If you see this behind me, the CIA actually had a Dragonfly drone that was created in the 70s. And in the tail end of that drone, it's on a little pick. It wasn't always on the pick. It actually did fly, is a microphone. And they would use this to gather intelligence. Now, they say they quickly decommissioned it or they didn't use it a lot because it didn't work well in crosswinds. And that could be true. But again, I suspect 40 years ago, even though they say, oh, the program didn't really work the way that we wanted it to, obviously they had other types of technology and worked on this for some time. What we're seeing now is just public. In fact, they have the Dragonfly drone on display at the CIA museum if you ever want to go visit it. So there it is, and it looks pretty crude. Although it's dressed up like a drone, remember that's for outward intel, so it has to be somewhat covert. These, there's a great breakdown over at the Activist Post. They do a great job, activistpost.com. Love their stuff, where he talks about this, and he talks about the CIA drone, and he shows you some of the other insect drones that they worked on. That wasn't the only one. So again, with the rise of automation and the rise of surveillance and nanotechnology, this is just starting to be rolled out. It is quite frightening that eventually, with artificial intelligence and better algorithms, their autonomous motions are going to get better and better and better. And yes, they will be manned with microphones and cameras. And soon those microphones and cameras will also be wirelessly hooked up to the 5G network that they're trying to put in place, giving real-time, high-def, high audio-def surveillance of an entire population while we all walk and talk with these bad boys, GPS devices. I mean, are we ready for something that even Orwell couldn't predict, even Huxley couldn't predict? I just did a video earlier in the week on the voiceless monopoly and the prepping you for this track, trace, database, social credit score system that's already been implemented in China, and they're trying to implement it by 2022, all 1.4 billion of their citizens. So right now they're using street cams. They're doing almost instant shaming. They're putting you on television. They're taking money out of your account. They're messing with your score, which again affects whether you can put your kids in a good school. You can travel on a plane. You can travel on a train. Restricting access to the internet is also something that can happen if your social credit score is too low. And I really do believe that this type of drone technology, what you see behind me, again, something so very, very small. Let's scroll back. That's a penny. That's a penny. And these guys are going to create like smart networks. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what if they're not manned with one camera? Phones are already manned with 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras now. And they've microized everything, nanoized. These are actually referred to as MAVs, micro aerial vehicles, not just UAVs. They're UMAVs, I guess you could say, but a lot of them just call them MAVs because they're so small. And when you have a network, a hub of these things, and they're intelligently communicating with one another autonomously, and they're using that camera technology, how do you combat that as a citizenry, especially when they're harnessing power from the sun? It reminds me of, I don't know if anybody out there actually remembers the Animatrix. In between the Matrix 1 and 2, they did kind of this anthology series of different animation styles where one of the stories where they were telling the story, the progression of men dooming themselves by creating this Skynet type AI, they said, well, they're using the sun as a power source. So what do they decide? The leaders of men decide to black out the sun, and they do so by using planes, and they spray, black like contrails across, black out the sun, and that's when we become their power source. So again, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that the AI they equip them with is, but I think it's extremely worrisome that you would even have the leaders of men or governments in control of masses of small microized drones. And again, these are what we're seeing. We don't even know what the covert levels are. Do you think that DARPA hasn't developed something much more advanced than this? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon? Again, this is something that's already, the 70s, the CIA had these type of insect drones. They were not solar based. They used a different type of power source. They were obviously not as good or stable as they are now. But this is what they're rolling out into the public. I don't think they made the bug drones of the CIA public until, I'm pretty sure, the early 2010s. I mean, I think like 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. So again, the majority of this technology is being hidden from the public. It is becoming more and more autonomous. With the implementation of 5G, they will be interacting with these quote-unquote Robo drones, the solar Robo bees. I can absolutely see where this is going. It's not going to a good place. So, again, technology is a double-edged sword. We could use these in a good manner, but who's really going to use them? Who's really developing them? A lot of those universities, just like Harvard here, and remember, this is a Harvard Weiss Institute program. They're often fronts for black programs. MIT, Boston Dynamics, they're all working with one another. Google owned Boston Dynamics for some time. Google in bed with NASA in their quantum computing program. So it's almost relative. That's why when people tell me they're anarchists, I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Anarchy can't work. First of all, our government is very corrupt. It needs to be reined in. But it has been so amalgamated into technology companies, the military industrial complex, and really the media and pharmaceutical industrial complexes that we have a lot of problems. I thank you for the super chat. Port Film Co-op, should we stop 5G? I don't know that we should stop 5G. There's different, first of all, 5G is a broad term from a bunch of different spectrums. I think that 5G, in the sense that we should have repeaters in neighborhoods on a low level, I think that's insane. There's other types where it's more spread out and it may not penetrate the skin and stay there. Other types of wavelengths don't do that with their radiation, but 5G has proven to do so. It seems a lot different than the bands that we already have out there, which, there's a lot of controversy on whether these bad boys cause cancer. There's a lot of people that think they do. I don't know that we ban 5G or technology, but we also know there's light-based internet and there's other ways around this. And it should certainly be tested first. The implementation of 5G in conjunction with automation, aka self-driving cars that will put people out of work, I think that's tricky. Again, when you're building the quote-unquote Internet of Things around big data and people and you're the commodity, we have to be very, very cautious, especially because we know that everything we're doing is being surveilled on a level we can't even imagine. With that being said, guys, I am pumping out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos a day. I'll be pumping out another one, probably another 30, 40 minutes. So come on back, subscribe if you're not a part of the Burmis Brigade. And remember, I'm doing this on my own now. So I have a GoFundMe. We're setting it up once every month. We're about, a little less than a third of the way there for the month, which I really appreciate. So thank you for your support. Follow me on Twitter at Jason Burmis if you already haven't. And guys, I will see you all on the flip side.